Connie. Courtney's here. Eunice is here. Jersey's here. Hello, hello. We have a great live for you tonight. I'm so excited. There's Donna D. I love it. Thanks, guys, for being here. This is mostly a Q&A, but as a hormone doctor, I get asked a lot of things. So I have questions, and these were written from 2 shows ago and I didn't get through them because you guys have great questions and I don't really have anything officially prepared or anything. So, guys, so I'm just going to go through the questions tonight and just wait for you guys to have questions. I just got back from Tampa, so I'm absolutely exhausted. I've been awake since 3 a.m. My fiance and I came back, and we have both just been running all day and absolutely exhausted. So I'm probably going to be a little bit out of sorts, but I'm here. So let's do this. And I missed you guys so much Friday night. It was a wonderful evening, Valentine's. I hope you guys had a great Valentine's. And it was lovely. We were visiting my soon to be father in law and just had a great time. But coming back this morning, it was an early flight. And like I say, we were rushing around. So without medication, yes, yes. Well, actually, I did take Benadryl last night because the time was so off because we had to literally go to bed at like 8 p.m. and the time change is different there in Florida. So I tried to knock myself out with Benadryl and then to get up at 3 a.m. it was a little bit tricky. So it wasn't completely without medication. So, but yeah, it's been a great day. Where are you guys at? Because we are about to have the snowstorm of the century, I think. We're supposed to get like 6 to 10 inches or something like that. We're in Northwest Arkansas. If you guys put in the chat where you're at and if you're expecting storms, it was so nice. Cold in Iowa. It was so nice in Florida. It was like New Jersey. Oh, I bet it's chilly there. It was like 78 degrees the day before we left. And it was like we hit here and it was like 19 degrees when we hit the runway from the airport. So Tulsa, oh, that's not too far, Donna. Awesome. I don't know if I think you guys are supposed to get snow over your way too. So you're probably getting prepared. I just ordered some what the Walmart delivery. I love that. If you guys haven't done Walmart delivery, it's amazing. It's so easy. Alabama. Hi, Dana. Changed my screen name. Okay, Snickers. Hi, Dana. I'm glad you said that. What happened to Tacoma? Yes, Oklahoma. Oh, lots of folks from Oklahoma. That's awesome. My neighbors, 33 degrees. Oh, yeah. I don't even know what it is here right now. It's pretty freaking cold. Oh, supposed to be brutal. Yeah. I've changed all my patients for the next couple of days to telemed. So I should be okay. My plan is not to go in tomorrow, but we'll see. I got tired of it. Okay. All right. Well, I don't think I can change my name because you guys wouldn't be able to find me. So I'll just stay Dr. Tammy for a while. Headed to Arkansas Thursday. Yay! You're coming to see me. Yeah, the girls told me that. That is so awesome. I can't believe you're coming all that way, Connie. That is amazing. I love it. Snickers is my cat that was in our live meeting. Oh, how cute. We're so excited. I'm so excited. This will be so fun. Yeah, I had 4 cats and I had to return 2 of them. They were just foster cats. So it was a little bit of a sad day, but I am not going to miss all the hair in my house. 4 cats is just too much. So, but yes, yes, yes. Okay. So, you guys, if you have questions, please put them in the chat because I'm just going to go through these questions and your questions are more important to me tonight. I don't really have anything prepared. Like I say, I am just a zombie right now. So I'll do my best and just kind of give you guys some content. Okay. So, let's do this one. I'm just picking one random. I've been on BHRT for a few months, but still don't feel great. How long does it take to see results? And should my dose be adjusted? Yes, it should be because you should see results within 1 to 2 weeks. Now, it's not always the optimal results, but you should see it 1 or 2 weeks. So if not, it needs to be adjusted. Connie says, should we rotate where we put our cream? that is the recommendation. You know, when I do mine, I just usually do inner arms or inner thighs. I just did a video while I was in Florida actually and talked about a couple things to optimize your cream. Alternate your areas and then make sure that you don't put like lotion on first because it's gonna like make a barrier. Gonna, I can't believe I said gonna. I sound so country. Um, do we ever feel better again? Yes, yes, you do. You do. You have to. But yeah, so when you put your creams on, you want to make sure that you don't have anything that is a barrier to that. And also, if you're like me and I use tons of conditioner in the shower, like make sure that you wash most of the conditioner off because that makes a barrier too. And then also other things, you know, in the video I said that one of the things is when people aren't feeling better, one of the things I realized because when we were in Florida, I was eating a lot of junk, which, you know, you just start to feel kind of achy. And I told my fiance when I woke up in the morning, I'm like, I'm feeling really achy. And when I get home, I really want to try to turn over a new leaf and really try to be more conscientious of that because you might be using your creams and thinking, why am I not feeling better? But then you eat, you know, carrot cake at dinner and then you're not feeling good the next day or you're feeling sluggish and tired. So, you know, just because you get on BHRT doesn't mean that there aren't other things that you're doing to yourself that can affect the way you feel, or alcohol, those kinds of things, just really, you know, toxins of any kind, a lot of MSG or, you know, processed foods can really make a difference too. So, to really be fair to being on bioidentical hormones, you have to really give it a chance and be doing at least semi healthy on the back end with that. No question, just a shout out to you for your videos. Yay! Thank you, Donna. Shout out to you too, honey. Okay, so yeah, so the one that said, will I ever feel better again? Yes, and sooner rather than later when you start bioidenticals. And I do want to say, if you want to get your hormones checked, if you're new to this channel platform, if you're new here and you don't know what we do bioidentical hormone testing, and then we get you on bioidentical hormones and get you feeling better. How do I know if I need estrogen and not just progesterone? Okay, everybody needs progesterone, so I'll talk about that in 1 second. I'll draw a picture, of course. But one of the things I wanted to say tonight is if you want to get your estrogen, progesterone, or testosterone checked, and you want to do an at-home saliva test, because doctors are poop heads sometimes and they won't check your hormones. If you want your hormones checked, all you do is you go to Hormone Bliss and you order a test kit. You fill out your questionnaire, and then you put your saliva in a tube, and then you mail it in through, not mail, UPS. We've had some people put it in the mail. And then we can get you on bioidentical hormone cream. So a lot of people ask me, you know, how to get started, how to get that going. So absolutely, you can get feeling again. Okay, so that question is, do I need progesterone? Okay, so you know me, I always have to draw these graphs. So this is going to be a month of menstrual cycle. So this is day 1 to day 28, and day 14 is the day you ovulate in the middle of the cycle. And forgive me if I do really dyslexic things or anything. I started HRT Friday. I'm praying for great results soon. Yay, Vanessa, I love it. I love it. Okay, so here's hormones on this axis. And we're mostly going to do estrogen and progesterone. So estrogen is in pink. So estrogen climbs the first part of the cycle, and then it starts to dip there a little after ovulation. Looks like that. Okay, so what does estrogen do? Estrogen makes you create a lining in your uterus. So this is a uterus, and this is the lining. And here are the ovaries and the fallopian tubes. Not to scale. It's kind of a mess. I feel like Bob Ross. Happy little trees. Okay, so what happens is when progesterone or when estrogen rises, you start to build up this lining in the uterus. And if you have too much estrogen, like that, you build up a lot of lining in the uterus. So much that you can start having bleeding, a lot of bleeding. And then, because this is just a big muscle, the uterus is a big muscle, you can start forming fibroids, which are just tumors in the muscle here. And then you can also get endometriosis, which is retrograde menses. So blood can actually push back up into here. And then this is just kind of like this little fimbriae, and the ovary releases the egg. But literally, blood can go out here into the what we call peritoneum. And also, some endometrial cells can follow that and implant out here as well. And then this is what we call endometriosis. And then these are the fibroids. These are all the things that can go wrong in the uterus. So if you have too much estrogen, that's a problem. And I think of it like the bucket at the water parks. If they fill up just nice and just like a quarter of the bucket and it dumps, it sprinkles on the kids and everything's good. But if that bucket were to fill up too much, like this uterus fills up too much with blood, like that water park, when the bucket dumps, it's going to be awful. It's going to be painful. It's going to hit you on the head and maybe even hurt you. That's just like what's happening when you have too much estrogen. It causes too much lining, too much bleeding, fibroids, retrograde menses, all sorts of problems. Donna said, if I start bioidentical cream with estrogen and progesterone, will I start having a period again? I'm 60. No, that is the goal, not to have a period. But Donna, it does happen sometimes. And so that just means it's not the right balance. How do I know if I need estrogen at 38? I haven't had a period in 3 months. Well, you can order a test kit and get your levels checked, and then we can make a plan for you. 38, usually from 35 to 50, there's a whole range for perimenopause. And I say get on bioidenticals now. If you haven't had a period in 3 months, first of all, I would check a pregnancy test. Hopefully that's not the case, unless you want a baby at 38. But if that's not the case and you're having symptoms, if you're tired, hot flashes, fatigue, weight gain, mood changes, all the things, then this is a really good time to get tested and get on bioidentical hormones. I really truly believe that start early, get your hormones balanced, because you're losing all the benefits if you don't have hormones on board. Okay, so the question was, I got distracted. Big surprise, huh? Okay, the question was, do I need progesterone? Progesterone's purpose, I'm going to do that. Progesterone's purpose is to literally balance out through feedback hormones through the brain that estrogen, and to bring the estrogen back into orbit. But if you don't have enough progesterone to do that, then you'll have too much estrogen. We call that estrogen dominance, and that's the whole problem that we're seeing there. Well, the thing is during perimenopause or even younger, anybody who has premenstrual disorder, heavy bleeding, PCOS, fibroids, endometriosis has estrogen dominance, because that's what's happening in the lining of the uterus. So you can, even if your hormones aren't balanced right, if we don't have the right balance, which is why we do testing, see where you're at. But if the hormones aren't balanced, then you can start to have conflicting hormone issues. So if you're bleeding, that could mean that you have too much estrogen, and you could be estrogen dominant, even if you're past menopause, and even if it doesn't seem like you have all the other symptoms of estrogen dominance. But if you are bleeding, then you definitely have some estrogen dominance going on. So the question, do you need progesterone? You can see that progesterone has a very important function. And there was a study done in 2002 that scared everybody away from hormones. It was full of so much information that wasn't accurate. It has been disputed so many times. You can go back and look at, there have been studies and studies and studies since then that has shown that most of what was said was not accurate, and that it was misleading at the least and inaccurate at the most. So that study, though, what they found was, and this is the dumbest thing ever, if you don't have a uterus, like you had a hysterectomy and you don't have a uterus anymore, you can't get uterine cancer. And that's what they were doing, was they were balancing out the estrogen and the progesterone so that you wouldn't get uterine cancer. So then some genius said, well, if you don't have a uterus, you can't get uterine cancer, so you don't need progesterone. That is like one of the dumbest things I've ever heard. And I always say it's like saying you have shoes, you don't need socks. Who would tell you that you don't need socks if you have shoes? I mean, that's just crazy. So to just make that leap that you don't need progesterone is crazy. Thousands of progesterone receptors all over our body. Yes, we do. Estrogen receptors too. And one of the problems too is you have even more receptors if you're on synthetic hormones, because it actually changes the DNA and upregulates the receptors, which is one of the reasons that synthetic hormones can actually increase your risk of cancer and other diseases too. So very, very important that you stay off synthetic hormones. And I know family planning, it gets tricky, because like that's all we really have. And I know if you're not ready to have children, that's a whole nother conversation. But yeah, lots of receptors for sure. So hopefully that answered your question about, do you need progesterone? You absolutely do. And because there has been so much messed up information since that study, there are actually doctors who are still saying that to this day, that will tell you you don't need progesterone. Also, in that study, what's crazy is that it wasn't even the arm there were three different arms. So there was an estrogen arm in the HRT, there was a estrogen plus progesterone arm, which was synthetic progesterone. It wasn't progesterone, totally different. The structures are very different. If you go back and look at my video I did the other night, you'll see that they're completely different, acts completely different in the body. And then there was the placebo arm, and then there was the estrogen only arm, synthetic estrogen, and then estrogen plus progestin arm. And it was that arm that hit their upper limits of what they felt comfortable with, right? So you treat patients in Florida. I am only in Arkansas, and so I can do telemed in Arkansas and I can treat in Arkansas. But our program, Hormone Bliss, we are nationwide. So you don't have to go through me. You can go through our coaches, and you don't need a doctor, which is amazing that we can do the testing and we can get you on bioidentical hormone creams. So that's the beauty. My goal before I leave this planet is to have 50% of women at least to have the option, or at least have the informed consent and understand hormones. So go to Hormone Bliss, and my lovely fiance will put that in the chat. Because if I say .com, they won't put this out to anybody. So I have to be careful what I say. But anyway, there's lots of being careful what you say on these platforms. But because I'm very controversial with a lot of things I say about hormones and big pharma and the people, the powers that be. But anyway, okay. So if you want to get your hormones checked, then you just order a test, and I think it's $129. We just finished our Valentine's special, but we still have the TikTok 20. So if you put in TikTok 20 at discount, you can get $20 off. So it's only $109, a little over $100. And Connie says it's simple and worth it. Feeling so much better. I love it, Connie. I'm so glad that you are feeling wonderful. And I have a special surprise as well. If you order a kit, as long as we have the books in stock, they go fast. I will actually put a book in with your kit when you order. So order tonight, and we will put a book in with your kit. So this is Balancing Act, my second edition. And the reason I did the second edition was because I had some new information. But the coolest thing about this is that it has, if I can find it, places notes. So you can write notes. So super cool. So any of you guys have this book already? We usually send it out with our hormones when we do them. So anyway, get a free copy of my book. We'll put it in with your kit when you order. So order a test kit, see what your estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone is, see what your estrogen is, see what your progesterone is. Oh, and then there's this other little guy over here called testosterone. And we absolutely need testosterone. And so testosterone sort of just kind of does this. And it makes us feel happy. helps us build muscles, gives us energy, does all the things. Okay, so another question. I'm in perimenopause and I get terrible migraines. Oh, before I do that though, I was going to say that if you are having bleeding or spotting, you just need to up your progesterone. So we need to balance that out, but usually that's the case, is that you just up your progesterone. Okay. I'm in perimenopause and I get terrible migraines. Could hormones be making them worse, or would BHRT help? So, yes, hormone imbalance can absolutely make headaches worse. And one of the reasons for that is estrogen or estrogens. There are multiple kinds of estrogen, but estrogens can be very growth inducing. So there's 3 different kinds of estrogen. So there's E1, E2, and E3. E1 is called estrone. E2 is called estradiol. And E3 is called estriol. And why am I telling you that? Because estrone is actually the most growth inducing, or proliferative, we call it, proliferative. And that just means growth, which is fine if you're a 9-year-old girl trying to grow breast. But if you're a menopausal female growing new breast tissue, that's not a good thing necessarily. And E1 is very proliferative. So what happens is, because it's very proliferative, it can make the vessels in the brain overgrow, if you will, a little bit. It's a good thing because we need pliable blood vessels. We need growth of new tissues. But the problem after menopause, you guys see me do this all. Oh, I'm going to have to do that bigger. Hang on. The problem after menopause, and what we call ovarian failure, I don't know if you can see here, if we do a graph of birth to 100, and about the age of 50 is where you experience menopause, and this is hormones over here. We do this, we have hormones throughout our life, and then around 35, 40, they start really fluctuating, and then we literally flatline. And so what happens is, when we flatline, we can make estrone from our fat cells. We don't need our ovaries to make estrone. But that's not good, because we need E2 and E3 to balance out estrone. And that's why we see the majority of breast cancers happening out here between 50 and 100, because we have more estrone, because we have more belly fat, we have visceral fat. And there are studies to show, lots of studies to show, that for every pant size you are over where you should be ideally, you increase your risk of breast cancer by about 33%. So that's very significant. If you don't have ovaries anymore, which is what happens, baby girls are born with all the eggs they're ever going to have in their ovaries. And once they're gone, about half of them are gone about the age of 30. And once they're all gone at around 50, now we have no ovarian hormone production anymore. And if guys had to live like this with no ovarian hormone, if they had to live with no testosterone from the age of 50 on, it would be a crisis, right? But yet we live like this, and we wake up every day and we feel like crap, and we're like tired and no sex drive, and nobody wants to be around us. And that's okay, because we hate people too. And everything is drying up, and we're starting to leak when we laugh or jump on a trampoline. If you had the energy to jump on a trampoline, you're not sleeping, you're drenched in hot flashes and night sweats, and you wake up and your hair's all nappy, and you've changed clothes twice during the night. I mean, it is just not a good life. And yet we just suck it up, because doctors are the ones that are telling us that hormones are dangerous. And it is the worst thing that they can ever do to you. But it's just so much easier to throw a pill at you for a sleeping pill, for an antidepressant. And the stats show that about 60% of women over the age of 50, postmenopausal, in ovarian failure, hormone depletion syndrome, whatever we want to call it, are on sleeping medication. And about 40%, and I think that number is probably actually higher, but are on some form of prescription antidepressant. So we're just medicating a natural process called ovarian failure when really what we need is hormones. And it is so easy. And topical bioidentical hormones are so safe and so effective. And Connie says, I sleep so much better on my cream. I love it. I love it, love it, love it. Yes. I don't sleep when I don't take my hormones. And I'm a grumpy girl too. Oh my gosh. We got up so early this morning and I didn't know when I was going to get a chance to eat. So sometimes I don't take all my vitamins unless I have like some yogurt or a protein shake or something. And so just rushing out the door, I didn't take my hormones this morning. So um, I made it a point not to go to work today though, because I know when I've been up since 3 a.m. and I've been on a plane, I know not to go to work because I'm just so grumpy. And then like the whole day I was like, oh, I'm so tired. Why do I feel so bad? And then my poor fiance, he has to deal with the brunt of that. But I'm like, I just realized I didn't have my hormones today. So it's kind of a thing. Yeah, because I have this routine that I do my hormones when I take my supplements. So today was rough. So I will take my progesterone here in a little bit and I will go to sleep. Could it be my hormones making it suddenly harder to achieve an orgasm and they're not as intense? Absolutely, absolutely. Testosterone is a great solution for that. Sometimes, if you're having problems with that, it could be from being on an antidepressant. I don't know if you're on any medications, but medications can absolutely affect orgasms as well. And so, lots of factors there, but antidepressants are one of the number one reasons that happens. Sexual dysfunction can happen from lots of different medications as well. Nomads happen out of nowhere. I would say you definitely, I don't know how old you are, but I definitely would get your hormones checked. And if your doctor won't, we will. So go to Hormone Bliss and order a test kit. If you go to my link in bio, I have where you can order test kits and I have a lot of free downloads. I am all about education and information. So go there and get any of my free downloads, educate yourself as much as possible. But testosterone is something that we do as well. So get tested and see what you need because testosterone declines too when we start to lose our hormones. And that's a big deal. And so, guys, their testosterone levels are anywhere from 200 to 1,000. Ours, 20 to 40. So most women actually feel good around 80 to 100, which is where all this buzz is coming about testosterone pellets now. So, I mean, you can imagine males, their libido is very high for the most part. I mean, unless there's something wrong. And then we have to live with like a testosterone of 10 when we check some women. I mean, after menopause, sometimes it's like 0. If you're estrogen dominant, could you still need estrogen or just progesterone? One of the things with being estrogen dominant is usually estrogen dominance is mostly estrone. So you could really replace estrogen dominance with estrone dominance because estradiol actually helps balance out estrone. And estriol works like a fire blanket on estrone, which is pretty proliferative and it binds up all the receptors, which is why bioidentical hormones with estriol are so safe because it's actually binding up the receptors on the estrone, actually protects you from breast cancer. And there are so many studies to prove that. I'm not making that up. If you are scared of bioidentical hormones, estriol and estradiol, because of breast cancer, a family history, you yourself have had breast cancer, you need that fire blanket. You need bioidenticals to protect you. So don't take my word for it. Go look this up, but it is so important. All the more important if you have a family history or personal history of breast cancer or uterine cancer or any kind of cancer or heart disease or cognitive changes. All so, so important. But your question is, if you're estrogen dominant, could you still need estrogen or just progesterone? A lot of times, what I will do around perimenopause is put women on everything so that we can really get the balance. And what's going to happen is that the feedback hormone that happens with the brain, so here's the uterus, up here in the head is the pituitary. It's so weird. That's a really big uterus. That's like some massive fibroids. That would be the case when I would say a hysterectomy is totally needed. Okay, but here's the pituitary, which is a gland in the head that tells your ovaries to make more or less. And so that feedback loop that happens is one of the things we can do is check something called an FSH, or a follicle stimulating hormone, to see if your ovaries still have eggs in them. I've got the tired dyslexia. I don't know if you guys have ever had that, but to see if your ovaries still have eggs or not, or if you have ran out. So I'm saying this because if we give you the protective estrogen and the most effective estrogen being E2, and we're blocking off estrone, we could give estriol very, very safely, and it will actually counterbalance estrone, which is the thing that's causing the estrogen dominance. So absolutely, we just kind of have to reframe what we're calling estrogen dominance a little bit and call it estrone dominance. So yes, now sometimes you will need more progesterone to balance out these different kinds of estrogen as well, but that's why we test, and that's why we base our balance on that, and then we base it on symptoms as well. Can you explain the difference on progesterone cream or pill? I cannot take the pill. Yeah, absolutely. Do not take the pill. Oh my gosh, the pill is so scary. Synthetic hormones are completely different than natural hormones. I have to pull this back. I actually used this the other night. I love this. I haven't erased it yet. Oh, I almost had that on my head, didn't I? I haven't erased it yet because I love it so much. It's nuts. So let's see if you can see that. Okay. So the first point, is that good? So the first point about the pill is absolutely because hormone by mouth, oral hormones, go through the liver and stimulate fibrin and clotting factors. So absolutely do not take synthetic hormones by mouth ever. Okay. So natural progesterone is, if you know anything about organic chemistry, it looks like this. Synthetic progestins look completely different. I mean, they have this whole group of oxygens and carbons and carbohydrate, CH3, and there's another CH. It looks completely different. These are made synthetic petrochemicals from natural gas. No pill, no birth control. Yeah. So synthetic is very, very bad. The way they do this is they take petrochemicals, natural gas, they break it down, they do something called cracking it, and then they distill it, and then they have a molecule that kind of looks like progesterone, but it's not progesterone. It actually triggers the DNA to make more progesterone receptors, which can be a problem for progesterone positive breast cancers or estrogen positive breast cancers. So when you use the synthetic stuff, it actually confuses the body, which is the purpose of progestins in birth control, because it suppresses ovulation, because they are actually formulated, and they add a few extra things on here so they can patent it and make more money, because you can't patent a natural substance, but they actually study what to stick on there to make your body shut down, to make you stop ovulating, to make your uterus angry. Who wants their uterus to be angry? I guess that's a method to keep from getting pregnant if your uterus is angry. And what do I mean by angry? It's just very unable to proliferate, unable to really make a good lining, which is great for heavy bleeding, but it's not solving the hormone problem. And it's like I always say, a hysterectomy, it's great for bleeding, but it's not solving the hormone problem. It's just removing the bleeding. So birth control for bleeding is it works, but it messes with everything else. And especially if you're taking it in the oral form, it is a completely different structure. And it is designed to make your cervix uninhabitable to sperm. It is designed to make your uterine lining uninhabitable and thinner and just very unhealthy. And it's designed to interfere with the feedback loop between the brain and the ovaries to suppress ovulation, meaning popping out an egg. So it's a very, very different structure. I'll kind of do this if some of you guys are new here and haven't seen some of this other stuff. A natural estrogen looks completely different from Premarin, which is a horse estrogen. It comes from pregnant mare urine. Looks completely different, has this whole different molecule over here. And the conjugated estrogen from horses is actually 50 to 60% estrone, which is that problematic estrogen that I told you about that causes the estrogen dominance. Can someone start bioidentical? Not sure what you meant, Kelly Lee. Is it Kitty or Kelly? I can't see. Can you ask that question again? I couldn't see the whole thing. And then estrone is the problematic hormone. God doesn't make a bad hormone, but it's very pro-inflammatory. And it also is the storage estrogen that is stored in the fat. And that's why your risk of breast cancer goes up when you gain weight in the middle, basically what we call visceral fat. And it's the most dangerous fat. So here is a completely synthetic estrogen. It looks completely different than even a natural estrone or a natural estradiol molecule. And then this one is DES, which is diethylstilbetrol. That was a estrogen that was used for dysfunctional uterine bleeding and for nausea in pregnant women that was causing cervical cancer in babies. And it was causing so many problems. It was just unbelievable. Cancers, uterine cancers, breast cancers, and they actually took that off the market, thank goodness. But these synthetic estrogens, the liver can't metabolize them, which was when some people say they can't take synthetic hormones, it's because their liver can't metabolize them, and everybody's liver is different. The synthetics also bind stronger and they overstimulate receptors. They increase the clot risk and toxic metabolites, and they have a really long half life. And so that means that they're around much longer, which is why they don't make bioidentical birth control, because bioidentical hormones make every process better and increase your fertility. So, yeah, that's the thing. I've always wondered, like, why can't they make bioidentical hormones and just give you high enough amounts so that it suppresses the ability to get pregnant? But like natural hormones have just the opposite effect. So, after menopause, it's really important to have those ovarian hormones in the levels that would support fertility if you had eggs anymore. But you don't have to worry about getting pregnant because you don't have eggs anymore. So, okay. So let's do another question. I'm postmenopausal and on BHRT, but still feel tired all the time. Could I be missing something like thyroid or adrenal support? So it kind of depends. I always say that kind of depends. Kind of depends on how long you've been on BHRT, because one of the things that I find is that women are on bioidentical hormone therapy, that their thyroid gets better. And I would say, if I had to guess, over 90% of women that come in my practice have thyroid dysfunction after menopause. So, why is that? Because estrogen and thyroid both get activated in the liver. So, they are competing for each other's basically bandwidth in the liver. And so, if you're having estrogen decline or you're completely bottomed out, tanked on your all your estrogen except estrone, which is accumulating in the visceral fat, then what's going to start happening is the thyroid is going to start going offline because it's not going to be able to convert in the liver the way it's supposed to. And if you have too much estrone in the visceral belly fat, now that spills over into the liver. And if you've heard of a term called fatty liver, Fatty liver is where you're literally taking I think of it like the concrete trucks with the big chute, and you're literally piping big oily orange fat into the liver. And if you think of the liver like a factory, if you were to just dump a bunch of orange, yellow, oily fat into a factory, the factory workers would be like icky and greasy, and their productivity would be really, really low. And so, one of the things that we find is that the thyroid, when it has a properly functioning liver, can actually convert better. And then when you have the other estrogens that are balancing out the estrone, everything operates better. So we see thyroid correct a lot of the time, but absolutely, if you have a very sick thyroid, if you have autoimmune thyroid, if you have something going on with your adrenal glands, there definitely can be other things at play as well. So, our online program, we test for estrogen, progesterone, and testosterone. And so that's really our starting point. So, when we get people on bioidenticals, that's really what we deal with the most. And most things come into balance once we get that balance. But we can also, our lab also can do cortisol, thyroid blood spot testing, and Hashimoto's, you can do full thyroid panels and everything. We usually leave that to people's primary care doctors and then educate you that you can go and get that testing. If you're not feeling better, then it's like, okay, let's go explore the autoimmune stuff. But we're also in the process of getting that testing so that you guys can order that and do that as well. And then you can be educated and informed about what's going on. So if you have very ill adrenals, that's something that needs medical attention, right? So that's not something that we really do. We just want to get you on bioidenticals and get you feeling better and protect your heart and your brains and your bones and help with all the symptoms, the inflammation, the joint pain, the fatigue, the not sleeping. So that's where our real focus is. But absolutely, we're going to make it available so that you guys can get that additional testing. Somebody asked the other day for ferritin testing for hair loss. And so I sent her a link to some place called Life Extension. So you can go there and you can order just about any kind of blood test you want. And it's so sad that we're in this place where we are so disempowered because I always say doctors are not gods. And in every other country, like in Mexico, you can go to the pharmacy and you can get antibiotics, you can get pain meds. It's like they really have more autonomy with their healthcare, with the medical system. Here, there's so much gatekeeping, and justifiably so. I mean, I know that there's some level of people will abuse things, and I get it that there has to be some control so that it's done safely. But other countries don't do it the way we do it, and somehow they're all still alive. And we are the sickest nation on the planet. I mean, America is like the very bottom. It is awful. So I can't even argue that giving up our autonomy in healthcare is even effective because we're still sicker. And if doctors were the best gatekeepers of the prescription medications, then why would we be so sick? And I know there's lots of other factors, our food supply, the toxins in the environment. It has so many layers of what we're doing to our bodies and our health, our inactivity. We're sitting at computers more. And I am not preaching on that front because I sit at my computer almost all day, all the time. I write books, I create stuff, I do educational stuff for you guys, and I'm very, very sedentary, but I do work out and I do try to eat as healthy as possible. I'm no saint when it comes to that, but for the most part, I'm not eating Snickers all day long, right? So, and that's the beauty of bioidenticals, which is why people say when you're younger you can eat less and exercise more, and it works. But when you don't have any ovarian hormones anymore, that doesn't work anymore. So when you have the right hormone balance, I don't work out that much. I I probably spend 20 minutes Monday through Friday morning working out. It's just not that much. So, and I can maintain my weight because my hormones are balanced. I have the hormones of a 30-year-old, and I can prove it with a lab test. I'll have to bring you guys my lab test sometime. But my metabolism operates as a 30-year-old. So that's so important when you're dealing with all these things like the weight gain and the sleep and all the things that come later. Another thing, too, you mentioned Hashimoto's. Almost all autoimmune starts in the gut. So you might want to research things like leaky gut. I actually have a book on Amazon called The Gut Brain Solution. And our gut is where most of our immune system is. And so it's protecting us from the outside, right? So everything that you eat or drink, bacteria in this cup, when I drink it, our body has to be able to deal with that, process it, recognize it as friend or foe. And if it's not a friend, then it starts attacking it. And if you have what's called leaky gut, now you have malabsorption, you have irritation, you have inflammation in the gut. And the immune system says, okay, that Dorito that just hit the bloodstream because nothing's working right in your gut, we're going to attack it. Oh, and while we're attacking that Dorito, that looks a little bit like your thyroid tissue. So let's go attack that. Oh, that looks a little bit like your islet cells in your pancreas that makes insulin. Let's go attack that. Oh, that looks like the bursa in your joints that make your fluid to keep your joints supple. Let's go attack that. So autoimmune, usually Hashimoto's, there's not just one autoimmune thing. There's usually multiple autoimmune things that people are dealing, like lupus or rheumatoid arthritis or psoriasis or eczema or diabetes. Just the list goes on. So a lot of different connections with that. So also working on, we do food sensitivities and genetic testing and everything in our office, but I really am working on getting that available to you guys too, that you can order those test kits, have your power, your autonomy, do the testing. I hate it that you have to be your own advocate. I'll be your advocate and I'll make that available and help you interpret those results. But really, everything can be helped naturally. Heal the gut, get on bioidentical hormones, clean up your diet a little bit, take a crap ton of supplements. I'm not even kidding. And if you guys want my protocols, if you come into our program, supplements are part of the protocols that you get. So definitely, and the way you start with that is you do a test kit, and then we get you into the program and supplements and guide you through that whole process. But I totally believe in supplements because we cannot get the nutrients from our food that we need. So let's see. Do you think at 36, me having so much shortness of breath, even on resting, standing, it could be hormones? I'm loss, LS. So much shortness of breath. Are you overweight? Would be my question, because a lot of deconditioning and being overweight, and all of that is from hormones. We can have lung dysfunction though, and some of that is deconditioning, but estrogen is the main thing that helps you build new tissues. And so if the lungs are drying up just like everything else is drying up after menopause, then absolutely you can have lung dysfunction. COPD can start, and even if you haven't been a smoker. But at 36, that's a little young for perimenopause to be causing those problems. But I would say there could be something more going on. So I would definitely get that checked out by a doctor, chest x-rays, maybe some pulmonary function tests, something like that. But there could be more to that picture. Hormones, yeah. I put everything to hormones because hormones regulate every process in your body. So yes, if you want to ask me if it's a hormone, of course I'm the hormone queen, right? Everything's hormones. But every process in your body, including your metabolism, including your cholesterol management, your sleep, your wakefulness, your gut. I mean, your gut is just driven all by hormones like the GLPs, the weight loss medications. Those are hormones. Your thyroid is a hormone. I mean, hormones drive every process in your body. It is your body's mechanism of communication, basically. So, absolutely. I'm 37 and the last few years I've started sweating like crazy during my period at night. So that's definitely perimenopause, no doubt about that. So what's happening with perimenopause is your hormone fluctuation starts getting really crazy in the 30s and 40s, and then it starts to bottom out. So that is usually a low estrogen when you have this sweating going on. And then because it's happening during your period, if you look at a cycle, I drew it a while ago, it's of 28 days in day 14. So what's happening is your estrogen climbs the most right before day 14 and then it levels off. So this is the most estrogen. So you would say, well, I'm estrogen dominant. Why am I having estrogen deficiency symptoms? Because progesterone kicks in here and does this. Well, there's so much overlap that happens there. If you do bioidentical hormones, you can balance out all of that with both estrogen and progesterone and get that balance and have all of that stop. Sometimes, though, if someone has really bad dysfunctional uterine bleeding and they're bleeding a lot, what we'll do is we'll take progesterone just during days 11 through 21 of the menstrual cycle to calm that estrogen peak down and to make it behave so you're not filling up the uterus with blood. So that can be really helpful, especially with PCOS or what I call dysfunctional uterine bleeding and ovarian dysfunction. So sometimes we will just cycle progesterone, but it sounds like you're having some low estrogen symptoms too. So I would use a whole combination cream of estrogen, progesterone, testosterone, DHEA, whatever your levels show when you get testing and stuff. How do you know if you need to start taking HRT? So girls as young as 9, it's funny because doctors don't have any problem putting a girl as young as 9 on birth control if she has acne or if she has heavy bleeding or, like family planning, if she's 14 and sexually active, here's your birth control. These are synthetic dangerous hormones, synthetic dangerous chemicals, and no doctor ever says, oh, you can't take that because it'll cause breast cancer. But then we, after menopause, when we have no ovaries, we're told, oh, you can't take hormones because they cause cancer. Like now, all of a sudden, when we have none, that makes absolutely no sense. So the question is, how do I know if I need to take HRT? If your hormones are imbalanced, you need something to put that balance back. So if you're a young female with PCOS and endometrial dysfunction and you need progesterone to balance out that estrogen dominance or that heavy bleeding or all those things that you think of PMS. So like everybody's familiar with PMS. What happens? We bloat, we bleed, we have headaches, we're grumpy, we crave chocolate. That's all estrogen dominance that's happening. So what happens is progesterone kicks in, you have your period, and then all mostly seems well again, right? So if you are having hormone imbalance symptoms, then you need hormones, right? So I don't care how young you are, you need to get that balanced out. If you are perimenopausal here in your 30s or 40s and your hormones are all over the place, then it's really important that you get that balance, get your levels checked, go to Hormone Bliss. My lovely fiance will put that in the chat for the link, or you can go to the link in bio and order a kit there. But really important that you get those levels checked so that we can get the balance back for you. And if you are postmenopausal, you 100% need bioidentical hormones because you don't have ovaries anymore. You are completely flatlined. So I have no problem saying 100% of women will go through ovarian failure. And however the media or the narrative or doctors want to box up menopause and say it's only hot flushes, that's just crazy. So 100% of women will go through it, and 100% of women do not have to suffer because we have bioidenticals. Daily Home Diary said, I got diagnosed with PCOS at 41. Did I have this my whole life and not know it? So PCOS is kind of interesting. So I'll draw a little picture here. Oh, so sorry. I'm being a little klutzy because it's going on no sleep, right? Sorry about that. tripped on my cord, and I always know better. I always know not to have that cord there. So PCOS, if you look at, I know I have a whole mess here, but if you look at an ovary, not to scale especially anymore, what happens is you have these little microscopic eggs in here, and about the age of 30, you're down to half of your eggs. Take those out of there. And about the age of 50, you have none anymore. But what happens is every month while you still have eggs, the hormone feedback with the brain and the ovaries tells one of these eggs, hey, you're up. This is exciting. You get to go be a baby if you want to be. And then what happens is if all the hormones are working properly, this egg pops out of this follicle and then goes down and gets fertilized. If the hormones are off balance with this whole estrogen progesterone cycle, then what happens is that egg doesn't know what, that follicle doesn't know what to do, and then another follicle gets made, and then another follicle gets made, and now we have a bunch of cysts or follicles, and now we have polycystic ovarian syndrome. But this really doesn't mean anything. All this means is that you have progesterone deficiency because you're having too much estrogen. So that's what estrogen dominance is. And we're trying to wipe out this effect of having all this blood building up. And then you start having bleeding. So I call PCOS, I just call that dysfunctional ovaries. Dysfunctional ovaries. Okay, you're right. Dysfunctional ovaries. So I don't even like the term PCOS. And I've for years called PCOS just progesterone deficiency. So what do you do for progesterone deficiency? You give somebody progesterone cream and call it good. And then when you get to perimenopause, then we use a combo cream or we use multiple different creams. And then postmenopause, we just test, see where you're at, and then get you on the right balance and then adjust according to symptoms. So, okay. Oh my gosh, that our time went really super fast tonight. If you guys have any questions that I didn't get to, if you want to direct message me, I know a couple of you guys had questions before and I was rushing around, so I didn't get to your messages. So I'm going to get to messages here in just a little bit. I'll go answer everybody. And if you want more information, go to our website and order a test kit, or just, we have lots of information there. If you go to my link in bio, which if you just click my picture at the top of the video, it'll take you to my main page with all my videos, and you'll see a little link tree. Lots of free downloads on there, and you can go download those, get lots of free information. We'll ask you for your email, and I promise we won't sell it. I hate that when people do that. But we will send you more information and updates, and I'm all about education. The word doctor in Latin means to teach, and I'm all about teaching and sharing. And the more you know, the more empowered you are, the more you can take your life back, and you do not have to suffer. 100% of us will go through menopause. I did it 5 years ago. You do not have to suffer. I mean, one single day that you don't feel good is a day that you can't get back. So just stop the madness and get on some hormones. I mean, we have so many options. We have safe, affordable options. So, oh, they're telling me my time is up. Okay, I'm going to do this whole thing. Okay, got it. They start warning me. If you have lots of side effects from non-bio progesterone, would bioidentical be better? Abby, absolutely, absolutely. Do not do synthetics. They are so hard on your system. They're upregulating your progesterone receptors, which increase your risk of progesterone receptor positive cancers. So many things to that. So yes, unless you need family planning or contraception, get a copper IUD, do something else if those are your options. If you absolutely have to do birth control or family planning contraception, I would use those synthetics in a topical patch. Do not ever put a synthetic hormone through your liver, because that will cause blood clots and heart attacks and strokes and all sorts of bad things. So don't do that. I asked my doctor why I couldn't take bioidentical, and she said it wouldn't work for my heavy bleeding. So Abby, that is true. When the horse is out of the gate, sometimes, and I say this all the time, sometimes I will use birth controls, synthetic hormones, because synthetic progestins actually do cause the lining to sort of clamp down and not be healthy. The problem is once you stop it though, it can get worse. And it's sort of like this, just this feedback loop of now the uterus like almost gets dependent on that. So you can use bioidentical progesterone during the mid part of your cycle, days 11 through 21. And we can do that. We can help you with that if you want us to help you with that. But I am not a fan. And I have had some patients who have such heavy bleeding that they're literally getting anemic and like passing out, that I will actually use birth control pills to stop their period, to just stop the madness, because it's in such a high dose, it shuts everything down, which is fine. But that is not a long-term solution. So it's just not a long-term solution. It's not healthy. It's not good. It's not fixing anything. And a lot of people actually feel worse while they're on those synthetic hormones for lots of obvious reasons. Severe bleeding for over a year caused anemia at 5.7. That is a really low hemoglobin. So just for people who are watching, hemoglobin of 5.7 is transfusion state for sure, that you would need blood transfusion. So yeah, you can bleed out so much that you can lose your iron and get anemic and be super, super sick. So in those cases, there are times when you can use birth control to stop that, but absolutely, I would switch over to a bioidentical. So ablation, yeah, ablation is a good option too. Hysterectomy is not, because I always say just removing the uterus doesn't fix the bleeding. However, in some people who have such heavy, thick fibroids and endometriosis, and you do have a hysterectomy, then get on bioidenticals. But don't just have a hysterectomy, remove the uterus, and think that all the hormone problems are going to go away. That's just not true. So, okay, guys, I love you all so very much. I know I'm over my time, and I think it's time that I'm just going to go crash and go to bed and hopefully be a little bit more alert for you the next time. I do these every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday night, except I missed Valentine's night because I was with my boy, and I felt bad because he's like, I can't believe you were going to do a live on Valentine's night. I'm like, but I love my people and I want to be there. So, but normally, I was even here on Christmas Eve and Christmas Day and New Year's Eve. So normally I'm here even through the holidays, but Valentine's was a special day, so we just hung out. But yeah, so Monday, Wednesdays, and Friday nights, share my videos, go to my main page, do my link in bio, see all the free downloads, share them with your friends, because that's how we get the word out. That's how we stop the suffering, is you guys have to share. You have to share these links with your friends, share these videos, because that's the only way we stop the suffering. Amanda said, was on Biocomplex, felt amazing. Finally, then pharmacy quit making, haven't found. Okay, Amanda, so we have bioidentical hormones. So go to Hormone Bliss, order a test kit. Let's see what your levels are. Let's get you on some bioidenticals. We have our own chemist who makes wonderful blends and all natural ingredients. There's nothing synthetic in here. And we have all sorts of amazing things like shea butter and things that really help moisturize, and vitamin D in there. So lots of great things. So yes, you're so welcome. Okay, you guys, I love you very, very much. And let's see, this is Monday. So I will see you Wednesday night at 7. And again, if you need anything, just direct message me. Catch up on your sleep. Yes, Jan, I'm going to. Yeah, so we have snow day tomorrow. I'm going to do telemed from home. So I am going to catch up and rest a little bit. All right, guys, see you Wednesday.